Here's part two, guys. I think this is fascinating with the catacombs and tunnels. I don't even know the difference between the two. Let us begin with part two. This is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Speculate at this point. I would say that the one that I was in has catacombs as well, but that's just my opinion. But yet again, sold as an attraction where you get tickets to go and see these bones. And we all know how construction works. There are steps that you have to take in order to build a building. You build the foundation first. This means that the catacombs were constructed before these churches. And then the church is strategically placed on top. Why would a church build on top of these geometrically placed bones of, in my opinion, the previous civilization? And then they profit off of it, selling tickets all over the world, showing it off as an attraction to us. In my opinion, the new population. And who is buying these tickets? And then we have the Brno ossuary, an underground ossuary that were rediscovered in 2001. So this has just been hanging out below the ground for all this time, and we just rediscovered it. I keep saying it, but now knowing this, can you even imagine what is really below our feet? And who did this? Who set all these bones up like this? And yet again, it is under the Church of St. James, where it holds an estimated 50,000 people, making it the second largest ossuary in Europe that we know about. And remember, all of these bones are laid in a pattern, like we've been told, and they are done like this all over the world, not just in Europe, meaning that the same group did this all over the world. And they tell us it's because the graves were too populated. Yet they go on to dismantle the bones and put them into geometric patterns, which makes no sense at all. Why would you randomly do that? It doesn't add up. You would preserve them properly and lay them the way they were found. This feels much deeper than simply transporting due to overpopulation of an area and then building a church right on top of them over and over. So who do they tell us is responsible for placing these bones into geometric patterns? Who did this? According to walksofitaly.com, it was just your everyday quarrymen. You know, those quarrymen just laid human skulls into perfect geometric shapes for fun back in the day. This was their side hobby, of course. No. Let's read this. Despite the ritual with which the bones were transferred, the bones had simply been dumped into the tunnels in large heaps. Slowly but surely, the quarrymen lined the walls with tibias and femurs, punctuated with skulls, which form the basis of most of the decorations that tourists see today. This is unbelievable. Now, do we really think that this was just the quarrymen that just randomly decided to do this in every single continent in the world? Or do we think that this is a front story for the group that is truly responsible for this? You tell me. And that is just for Paris, France. So what about in Peru? You know, 6,077 miles away from each other. Do you think those quarrymen that just sent their local raven on a mission across the Atlantic Ocean, they need to make sure they also set those overpopulated bone dumps into perfect geometric patterns? Or do you think this might be a lie? When this website lets us know that the ones in Lima, Peru, the way the femurs, tibia, and craniums are placed, echo a symbolic or ritualistic intention, and goes on to say that neatly organized bones from geometric patterns in sizable open ossuary just below the floor of the church. And now when we go back to the St. James Church and go on their website and find that today, the ossuary at the Church of St. James is an attraction for tourists. So right under this floor, you have 50,000 that have no true identity, just overpopulation, moving random people that were just crowding the place, just taking up too much room and time to put them in the geometric layouts all over the world. And most of it being off limits to the public. Are you trusting the mainstream story so far? Should I keep going? Should we just show that this fire narrative all over the world may be a much deeper meaning? Is this the location where the catacombs are located? Because in 1515, the St. James Church, we are told, that the finished presbytery was affected by the fire that caused the roof to fall in and subsequently destroyed all the altars. Is this the nod, showing us the locations of where they are buried? I'm not sure, but we have seen it multiple times now, and things are starting to get very interesting if you ask me. Coded messages, hidden clues, all written within these narratives that have been waiting for us to discover them for years. I've said it before, but it does feel exactly like a game, a puzzle that we are supposed to solve, all within this narrative that we've been given. Clues that, when you know what you're looking for, seem to stare at you right in the face.
It took us 3.
So let's go deeper. Let's take a look at this map. Right here in the center, we are given the St. John's Church, where we know right underneath it is all of these catacombs, all of these bones. And it looks like it is the central location of the entire city. Going back to my point, that this might be the reason that so many people today are pulled into these cities on a much deeper level without them even realizing it. You can see the same thing going on in Paris with their catacombs. Like, everybody is gathering around it and they don't even realize it because it's below their feet. And to prove my point, let's show another one and go back to the first one that we talked about, Odessa, Ukraine, where there is clearly an attraction going on here to this central point. It's not like the catacombs are on the outside of the city. They are dead center. Even the old St. Patrick's Cathedral is dead center on this land layout of Lower Manhattan. And the same exact thing with the new one that we saw, went inside of, and will be covering in an upcoming episode. Another centralized catacombs location in Alexandria, Egypt, where the city is circling around it again. And the inside of these ones are pretty intense. They consist of 3 levels, cut through solid rock. Visitors can reach the first level through a breach in the rotunda wall, which of course was made at an unknown date. This leads to a hall of Caracalla, in which the bones of horses and humans were found. They were found. We even have the St. Paul's catacombs, where we have catacombs all the way out on this little island of Malta. And again, right under the church. And here, they give us the layout, the one that's available to the public. And you can see that this is intricate. This is not done by your average cowboy or your random quarry man. They were very advanced and precise with what they were doing all over the world. So what we see on the ground is clearly not all to this place that we live. There is much more below our feet, where I have some incredible things planned for this channel. The more that it grows. The more that it grows, the easier it will get for us to do things. One thing's for sure, and that is that we have a lot more to discover in places that have been here all along. And now that we know that they are there, we can go even further into this research. And do we all understand how this is all connected now when we can go back to episode 68, when we saw the Tron Kirk? And at that time we didn't know, but now we do. Located in Edinburgh, Scotland. Do we all remember what we read? Do you see now how the more information that we have, the more we understand when we read that the church floor was removed in 1974?
Whoa. Whoa. Are we seeing what's happening here? What's under our feet? Guys. Now, here's a theory of mine. I think that the more that we know versus we believe, the more that we know, the more secrets can be told to the world. There's a lot of secrets being held, and I think they're waiting for us to wake up even more. I gotta do part 3.